leaders in Kenya.
Today it is a conversation about peace and the many facets of peace. I am Zaina Kanbai. I am the founder of South-South Women. I am also the director of South-South and Triangular Cooperation for the organization. And South-South Women contributes to a new future in one part by these conversations that we're having practically weekly, but we contribute to a new future of acceptance and inclusion and integration. By our very nature, our values and our code of honor, we are a network and an organization propagating peace across the global South. And we have with us today our Director of Ethical Business and Entrepreneurship, as well as one of the pioneer influencers of South-South Women, Kelly Aburi, with whom I happen to be co-sharing a space because we were working on our on the launch of our entrepreneurship program together. But I would invite Kelly to share our values and our code of honor so that you have a very good idea about the space that you have stepped into today and the kind of context in which we operate. Kelly, I'll mute myself as you unmute yourself and share screen.
Okay, let me try it again. It says you've disabled attendees from screen sharing. You have to co-host me, I think. Can anyone see in it? See anything?
Not yet.
Okay, it's saying, okay, now I can, let me see.
So while Kelly is pulling up the screen, I would like to give a very warm welcome to Danique Zimmerman. And who else may have joined? Marian Zomo, I believe you are here with us.
Yes, I am.
Ah, lovely. Mary, would you like to say
joined.
a few words? Good, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I've been struggling. I was looking for the password. I was trying to join through my laptop, but I'm not managing.
Okay.
Yes, but it's okay.
Say a bit about yourself?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I don't know whether it's afternoon in other places. It could be morning. Yes, I'm Mary Nzomo, the County Executive Committee Member for Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives, Trans Nzoia County. And I also happen to be the chair of the other agriculture CECs in the country. And I'm also an entrepreneur at heart. Thank you.
That's very true. So for those who don't understand CECM, Mary is the Minister for Agriculture for one of the largest agricultural producing provinces in Kenya. And she also chairs the committee of all the agricultural ministers in the country. So it's a pleasure to have you with us today, Mary. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I can see Danique has come online if you'd like to say hello. Ojini, welcome. Nicolette, welcome.
Hello, I am Danique Zimmerman from Curacao. I am an entrepreneur, a communication expert. Yeah, that's it. That's me in a nutshell, in a small little nutshell. Thanks for the invitation.
A small and powerful nutshell. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I think, 1 second.
Okay, ready, Kelly?
Yeah, can you call?
All right, so we can do the South-South Women values at a little bit further along in the presentation. But so let's get started. And what I want to also share is that this conversation is in collaboration with Crear Valor, Mexico, and several of you have honored the invitation from Fernando to be here. And before I go ahead and invite Fernando, who is its founder, to share with us, I know that Fernando's life is a commitment to adding value. It's a philosophy and motion in service of every being living their highest potential and dignity. So it has been a true honor for us to have co-created and collaborated on the past 2 or 3 wisdom conversations together, and to still host after today 1 more next week on the profit of service as we go into a conversation about rethinking enterprise. So Fernando, welcome.
Hello everyone. Thank you very much for being here. I'm Fernando Camacho. I am from Mexico City, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. And I was thinking that the power of create of human beings, and the power when we get together into a same conversation. And Crear Valor is that. It's just that. Crear Valor is a conversation. It's a narrative. It's like every minute being with this mindset, with leaders around the world like you, like I love Melissa, Danik, thank you for being here. They are like representing the Caribe. So it's very powerful conversation, because I think that if every human being around the world has, with the level of leadership and contribution and entrepreneurship and all the skills and all the preparation that people in these spaces have, if we all are aware of doing every action and having every conversation from create value to others, serve others, add value to others, you can save a life just saying a word. You can connect, no matter these times being in person, you can connect with other by Zoom, because you can really be out here in the world of others and serving of others. And I think that's the most powerful thing of us, of human beings. We are social beings. And if we are connected, we can create huge piece of art. And the world needs it today. I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's always been the yin and the yang and whatever, but we can make a real change in every action. So my invitation, thank you for being here. And my invitation is that each second and in each action, you are really aware of the contribution you can be for a lot of people. And thank you very much, Zaina and Kelly and Justo and all the South Woman team to make this possible, because there are people from all around the world connected today and in this wisdom conversation. And for Crear Valor, it's a real pleasure to empower and support all of these things. So thank you very much. And I'm really pleased to have Tomás Darío here this morning, because he has been also a co-founder of this conversation of Crear Valor. I could speak hours about him, but he's a really peace ambassador, worldwide ambassador. So it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Azadeh, also for being here now this morning with all the talent and all the thing you have to give to the world. So thank you very much. Let's start. Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias, Fernando. And actually, we can all wish Tomás a happy birthday. He was celebrating on Friday. So I'm sure he brings new wisdom with his new age to this conversation. I'm going to, I understand from various people who've been trying to connect that we've had some issues with people logging in. So I know more and more people are joining. And what I'm going to try to do now is to share the screen. Let me know if it appears.
Yes.
And so Kelly, the floor is yours. Unmute, Kelly.
Oh, got it. Can you see South Women now? Everyone? Yes? Okay, so South Women, one of the major things is that Zena has really drummed into all of us, but we all were on board to begin with, I think. So it's to inclusion, to have inclusion on every level, to engage and involve people across a broad spectrum. So that means, although we are called South Women, that men, as you can see, today we're heavily, a real strong, heavy presence of men, and acceptance. So we cultivate safety and security for people to feel embraced, and honor we do what is consciously right. We are hoping that is exactly what we're trying to do in the world. We stand, so the South Women Code of Honor is we stand for and never deride one another. One of the things that we feel and believe very consciously is that to have a world that is safe and to have a world where we're trying to build strong individuals, that we shouldn't be talking about each other behind our backs in a very derisive way, but to respect and consider each other in a healthy way, and to honor each other when we're not there. So to respect and consider the other's industry and profession, business, enterprise, expertise, networks, and contacts. So when people are introduced to you, or you introduce people to your network, that you don't abuse the network or the introduction. So we respect the integrity of the creation of the network. We speak truth and we seek to understand. We always say, you hear people saying all the time, oh, they don't understand me, or I'm trying to get my thing. But I think if we take it the other way around and we say, let's try to understand the people with whom we're trying to engage, and let's build a better world. And this is a good introduction, I think, to also to Azadeh and what she's going to talk about right now, because she's full of love.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So to begin, peace. Actually, it was Tomás Darío who titled this wisdom conversation, Many Pieces, because it opens up the possibility for each one of us to become facilitators of peace. And Azadeh, as Kelly had mentioned, will be expounding on this, and both will be bringing dynamic perspectives to the conversation. So as in preparation for this, I started to think, well, what is peace and what is peace to me? Peace to me is the highest human vibration. This is what I have come to learn in my own healing journey, and what I believe each of us actually intrinsically already understand. I think peace is the reason why, even while we pursue materialistic objectives, even once we attain any of it, we still seek satisfaction at the very core of our being. Something deep, really, really deep within us always yearns for more. And that more is the more of peace, the more of fulfilling peace. And when we ignore the calling of that higher vibration in continued pursuit of other forms of power or non-peaceful power, we begin to destroy those around us, our families, our communities, our nations, and eventually we destroy ourselves. And that's if our physical body doesn't catch up with us first. So to arrive at peace, my experience is that we will confront the lowest vibrations of our humanity, which are shame and guilt and fear and anger and hatred and arrogance and vanity and greed and jealousy and corruption. And when I first heard the voice of peace speaking to me from my heart, I realized I was at war with myself. and that problems and challenges of every greatest kind will always exist. And each of us, including our world leaders, on a daily basis is confronted by the grave occurring and recurring injustices of our time. This is not possible to ignore. And this is the nature of life. And it is the nature of life that we are having a conversation about breaking out of. And I believe that peace is our approach to these great problems. And this has been demonstrated by some of the most powerful voices across the global South, be it Mahatma Gandhi, Wangari Maathai, Desmond Tutu, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and all of them have been voices contradicting the normality of aggression, of competition, and of conflict. I witnessed in myself that peace is a process I had to build from the inside out. That peace for me was a healing journey, and it was the process of facing, confronting, and surmounting my lowest vibrations and the harmful impact that they have on others. And from that messy, painful, overbearing, and sometimes tortuous place, peace became who I am and what I always want to stand for, even when I continue to get it wrong. And the peace process requires cultivating peace while we are at peace, not when the problem arises. And if we can train and practice to be peace givers and peace emanators while we are at peace, then we will be able to solve our conflicts better. But there was one more thing that occurred to me during my thinking about this, that peace has one fundamental ingredient, and it is only asked of me one thing ever: my will. And the wisdom conversation today is about peace from the perspectives of people who are examples of will in motion. Because if we know so much from enlightened people and scriptures and readings and agencies like the UN, what keeps us stuck? What's missing if we want to move ahead with peace? And my answer to myself was, it's the will to move forward from a peaceful approach. And with that introduction, I want to now present to you Azadeh Tajdar from Iran and the Netherlands, who is also currently living between Kenya and Switzerland and the USA, if I have that right. I may have missed a country. Azadeh works with a collaborative network of social and civic entrepreneurs at civic.co. And before embarking on her PhD, which she's currently doing on collective social entrepreneurship, for 16 years before, she was a founder, a donor, and a board member for a number of social impact organizations around the world, including in Central Asia. And she was on the list of social entrepreneurs to watch for in 2017. Fluent in Dutch and Persian, French, and English, she lectures and mentors social entrepreneurs and also presented an amazing TEDx talk in 2019 on how altruists better the planet. And I think we'll share that link at some point on the chat. I'm also going to go ahead and introduce Tomás Darío and then allow Azadeh to start and Tomás to follow straight on. Tomás Darío is from Mexico. He is a conflict facilitator, a lawyer, a consultant for the UN and the Mexican Senate, and a master in peace using elicitive conflict transformation, transrational understandings of peace, and nonviolent communication. I'm sure some of what that means will come across in what he talks about today. He's also the founder of Colectivo Tomate, which is an NGO that inspires action for the transformation of spaces and the relationships among people through art, dialogue, and participation. So it is a great honor for us to have both of you here today. And I know that everybody is looking forward to what you have to share. Please go ahead, Azadeh.
Thank you so much. I'm just quickly going to share my screen. I hope it's going to work. Let me see. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Oh, goodness. Let me see. There we go. Let me just do this quickly also. There we are. Is everybody seeing this?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, so thank you so much, Zaina and the incredible team at South Women and Crear Valor for having me today on the panel. Good afternoon again, everyone. My name is Azadeh. I am in Brussels at the moment, and it's been a little bit cold this morning, so I apologize if I'm shaking a little bit. It's really cold. I'd just like to immediately draw the attention to the theme of today, and take the floor to share with you a different perspective that may resonate with many of you as well. A red line throughout many of our common work is working through collectives or coalitions. And these collectives can be a collective of individuals or a coalition of organizations. And throughout most of the social innovation work or civic innovation work that many of you have done throughout your lives, you may have noticed that the most successful initiatives, startups, campaigns, organizations, enterprises have been those that have been able to connect with other organizations, other platforms, other leaders, but particularly connecting in deeply collaborative relationships. And this has also been the inspiration for my thesis, which I hope to finish a little bit in this same time in a year from now on. Essentially, what I've done is research how social change networks create the capacity to manifest the change that they want to see. So I kindly reiterate that in the next minutes, I'll be sharing with you a perspective, which is founded in my own research and also those of others, which I also hope will inspire you to think a little bit differently about social change. So why do I keep saying social change? I say this because for me, peace building, creating peace in itself is an act of creating change. It's a process of healing and a process of transformation. And for me, having worked with so many different organizations throughout this magnificent planet, which we all call our home, and having researched also such diverse coalitions or networks that apply collective efforts, has taught me that creating meaningful and positive change is essentially about peace building for ourselves, our organizations, and also the communities that we want to represent. And the collectives, the networks that I've been researching are social change networks that have created peace locally by addressing massive social, ecological, cultural, and economic challenges over time. And they all come from a place of good intentions. Now, the first step in this perspective is a key challenge in the way we teach and learn about activism and enterprising. The way we learn and the way we teach activism and enterprising as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as coaches, mentors, investors, designers, marketeers is individualistic. And the individual protagonist is heavily celebrated at magazines like Fast Company, online communities such as TEDx, global media programs such as CNN Heroes, including also renowned fellowships such as the Echoing Green Fellowship or the Acumen Fellowship, predominantly celebrating the individual. Now, this further amplifies the perception of the great man or woman who single-handedly changed the fabric of a deeply entrenched social, economic, and environmental problem. Boosting personal egos, cults of personalities, and worshipping martyrs aside, this is a misconception and distorting about how social change, healing, transformation, and peace building actually happens. So bear with me on this. So researchers have long known and proven that successful ideas require a mix of talents that is rarely found in one person or a single organization. Throughout human history, we've always witnessed persistent and courageous individuals who have, against all odds, achieved the absolute impossible and inspired many others to follow in their footsteps. There are countless of these individuals across the world active today, and many of you in this Zoom call are also some of these incredible individuals. Yet, if you look from a different angle, we are all individuals that are carriers and communicators of ideas. For true social change to actually manifest and transform the fabric of society, it requires the help of others who bring their own set of resources and strengths and good intentions to the table. The reality today is that complex, wicked problems that societies at large face around the world, many of which transcend borders, cannot be solved single-handedly by one individual organization or even by one lone organization. In addition, the contemporary research on activism and entrepreneurship has proven that successful change and innovation is inherently collective. So multiple actors are engaged in collective action and offering complementary resources and skills. So for my research particularly, I've looked at social change networks around the world. These are networks with more than 5 organizations, sometimes even 16 organizations across different disciplines and sectors working together to create change, to create peace. We call these networks social alliances, and the successful ones are creating transformation, they're building peace over a long period of time. I've particularly looked at social alliances in the urban, rural, and also isolated areas of the world. Despite the enormous differences between these networks, there are, however, a number of key patterns and key similarities that they all share. And they're all, in addition to trying to solve deeply entrenched, complex problems, social, ecological, cultural, economic issues, focus on issues around social justice, income inequality, loss of biodiversity, racism, climate change, lack of jobs, disenfranchisement, and even colonialism. Complex problems, and yet the collaboration across these unlikely allies is possible, and it is creating peace at the local level. At times even, these social alliances have included organizations that have been quite hostile and even hateful towards collaborating with each other, and yet they have accomplished change over time. They're not only transforming their organizations, they're also healing the communities they represent. So how do they do it? How do they hone in on building peace and change together? So I want to share with you a couple of key patterns, key collective strategies, key processes that all of these organizations, these social alliances share. And we call this a new operating system for social change, for peace building and healing also. We believe this way of doing things together allows better navigating and solving complex issues that we face as humanity, as well as ensuring that we evolve forward. So I'll share with you some of these collective strategies that all of these social alliances, these social change networks, have completely embedded throughout their work. The first pattern is actually an extraordinary one, quite interesting one. Most social change initiatives, projects, campaigns, the really successful ones, have something quite unique to all of them, and that is the connection to place. What they're all proving is that social change, or social transformation, is, in addition to being a collective effort, also inherently place-based. Places too can have agency, and not just humans. Together, these organizations co-create, co-design, reconfigure their resources in order to manifest the changes they want to see in the places they inhabit. There's a very nice word for this. It's called placemaking. And it's the way in which all of us as human beings transform the places in which we find ourselves into places where we want to live. Placemaking is collaborative and it is place-based and allows us to fully unlock the potential of places and people. A sense of place can be physical and also virtual. In fact, this Zoom call, where we dedicate time to create a holding space or a safe space for mutual benefit and shared reward, can also be a place. And it proves also that virtual spaces can become thriving places. The second one, the social alliances all have a leading and driving force organizations. These are anchors. In all of these collectives, there are always mission-driven organizations, sometimes one, sometimes three, sometimes five, that have been instrumental in acting as conveners, as stewards, as gatekeepers, as bridge builders, as reconciliators, as translators across different interests, and even at times becoming leaders in communities of practice. They're all creating a thriving environment and space for other actors to come together and, perhaps more importantly, to learn together. These anchors, such as South-South Women, position themselves as an intermediary organization between partners. They champion specific projects, they convene, they reconcile diverse and even at times competing interests to create shared rewards. They ensure a broad coalition of organizations whose mission, despite differences, actually are aligning. They build connections and synergy, not only between sectors, but also across actors. The network constantly iterates, it experiments, and learns by doing through key flagship projects. These projects, which range from localized economies to food security, to landscape and biodiversity restoration, to energy independence, bringing back manufacturing jobs, are always mission aligned and always mission critical. The projects reflect opportunity for quick wins between network actors. The next collective strategy that these networks pursue is about mainstreaming inclusiveness, something that we've heard before, and something that's also being heard more and more these days, this word equity. And it's not just about we are inclusive of others who are less privileged or disenfranchised throughout the conversations. It's particularly showing that those who are being served actually have a seat at the table and that their voices are heard. These highly successful social alliances emphasize local and community-based action and require continued involvement and actual participation of various actors. They are truly engaging and they are truly inclusive. There's a lot of mutual understanding of problems and challenges at hand, higher levels of empathy. And above all, they are creating new ideas and proposals and building joint ownership on new and bold innovations. Building coherence, probably one of the most important ones. Networks that perform, that sustain, and renew also need to have a level of consistency. It's the glue that makes these networks, these coalitions work. This means there is important alignment of different organizational mandates, there are symbiotic relationships, there's constant and disciplined communication between partners. They create buy-in into a shared vision and act on it also together. Building coherence also means that together across the network, partners gauge diverse inputs and insights to co-design and co-create solutions together. Above all, these partners have a high sense of accountability towards the joint projects, toward and across partners, and toward the network. Building common goods, one of my favorites. Because diverse organizations offer and bring to the table their own set of respective resources and assets and tools, they also start building network resources over time, or what we call peace-building tools, or peace-building assets. And these shared resources help partners address needs and accomplish goals together. These network resources or assets can be physical, they can be social, and also economic. The resources these are resources which these network partners would otherwise not be able to access, to acquire, or to leverage independently. Some of the shared resources that we have been looking into are, for example, a network that actually supports a community enterprise to become a social enterprise, the web of relationships and bonds between the actors and partners, collective knowledge that is produced, and even setting up things like a joint impact investment fund. Partners collaborating on flagship projects are constantly thinking forward or what they say, iterating forward, and think about the future of places and their projects, including how their projects can stay meaningful. And in view of expanding the projects across other places, how to scale or how to improve projects beyond the initial places where they started. And lastly, in addition to all these previous collective strategies, there are 3 more which really are at the foundation of nourishing all the other ones that we just talked about. And these 3 nourishing processes or nourishing mechanisms are cognitive proximity between actors, being highly committed and invested in the network and the work being done, and building deeply trusting relationships. The cognitive proximity between actors is by far the most important. It demonstrates that through the act of collaboration, a significant shift is happening at the individual and personal levels of the people working for and with these organizations. This change is happening at the mindset of the people working in the collective. It comes from the intentions. Change not only happens in the organizations working together, change is also manifesting itself at the individual levels, where the protagonists realize that here and here what it means to collaborate with others. Perhaps most importantly, what it requires of them personally to create change, to transform, and to heal with others. So my question for you today is, how can you make your respective collectives, your networks, work better together? Thank you for your time.
So I will ask that everyone unmute and acknowledge Azadeh, as she deserves to be acknowledged for that incredible perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Azadeh. Thank you so much.
And I'm actually receiving messages from our director for public relations and also pioneer influencer from Nigeria. So I'm going to ask her to say a few words before we go on to Tomás's presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Azadeh, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. If I might say, you were speaking directly to me. Why do I say that? At this particular network, we are in the process of putting together our strategies to make sure that we are, as it were, corporately correct, in that our strategies align with our vision, our goal, and our objectives. And your 8 strategies basically told me that I'm in the right place. And I must say thank you for that. Collectively, I believe that everybody who has attended this session would have taken home a few things. I love the fact that you took time to explain our place and how we, in the bid to change our greater society, we take time to prepare and change our place and our space. If I might throw more light into that or try to illustrate a little further, sometimes we think that these changes are expected to be grave, are expected to be overtasking. But the simple fact that you want to live in a green space, so you add a plant to your environment. It gives you comfort, it gives you health benefits, it makes you feel comfortable. In your preaching the word of greenness, people can see that you have moved from I will to an action wherein you actually do have a plant and take it further. Also, our associations, number 8, also stuck to me in the sense that if we're not cognitive, if we're not committed, if we do not build trust and bond with that trust, then at the end of the day, all of humanity, to my mind, is lost, because without trust, you cannot thrive. Thank you. I really do feel blessed to have heard you. And I feel honored to be in the presence of everybody who is here. Like I like to say, thanks for shining the light. Collectively, I believe that we will incorporate all that we've heard today into our daily lives and preach peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibiene. And just before Tomás takes the floor, I would like to welcome David, who I know is Kenyan, and Masai calling us or joining us all the way from Australia, Mausi from Argentina, Maria from Kenya, Rosario from Argentina, Joyce from the Commonwealth Business Women Network Kenya, Ojini, thank you for being here. Agus Groboko Patel, who was one of our guest influencers on the Gift of Challenge, and with whom I personally am working very closely in the for the South Women Inclusion Campaign. Agus has been in a wheelchair most of her for her whole life, and actually is a well-known radio presenter in Argentina, and brought the inspiration to the South Women Network to drive an inclusion campaign that will allow people who are differently able to be accepted in society and in enterprise. Paula, who is joining us from Mexico, Angela Obongo, Helen, it's always great to have you with us, Maria Kioko, Veselina, who is the country director for Oxford Business Group Kenya, and I know is feeling slightly under the weather today and has joined us all the same. So thank you all so much here, and we look forward to hearing more of your voices after Tomás shares his presentation. Welcome, Tomás.
Thank you very much, Azadeh. Thank you for your words. And thank you for this invitation to South Woman. I'm very happy that South Woman exists and what it's creating. And I'm very present right now to all of you, each and every one of us who are giving some time to these wisdom conversations to reflect upon our role in peace, or what we can do as peace facilitators, or how can we interpret peace. So before I begin, I would like to make an invitation to each and every one of you. And when you hear this invitation, I would like you to bear in mind some answers to this invitation. So I will make an invitation, and I would ask you to choose to participate. I would ask you to choose not to participate, or I would ask you to choose something different that you can propose us. You can open your mic. So my invitation is for you to open your cameras so we can look at each other's. And while we do that, I want you to pay attention and make eye contact, try to make eye contact to everyone who is in this conversation. So we are here. And I want to ask you to be present to all the people who are here today. Thank you for being here. Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Tomás Darío. I am committed to making connection between people, to sharing from the heart and speaking from the heart, and hearing from the heart as well. So I'm going to share my presentation with you. Okay, so I am a founder of an organization called Colectivo Tomate, and Colectivo Tomate looks to connect people through participation, art, and dialogue. And I'm also founder of another organization called Amable, which would translate to kind. And so with these two organizations, we are creating different projects in Mexico, which look to inspire people to create together in different possibilities. So one question that I would like to place to this group that we are forming right now is, who am I as a facilitator? Like, this is a question for you. Who are you as a facilitator? And when you are facilitating, who are you? What is it that you're looking for? And when I mean as a facilitator, I mean the action that I have when I am in the presence of a group, and the action that can lead this group to finding different alternatives to any problem that is facing. And when I think of myself as a facilitator, there is these three components that I have to bear in mind. The first of them is, who is the group? What is the theme that is convoking us? And who am I within this group? And the next question I would like to place is, how do I take responsibility for the space that is containing us? And when I mean the space that is containing us, I also mean the conversations that are contained within this space. So there are different authors that speak about the knowledge of the group and the energy of the group, and how to trust on the knowledge and the energy of the group when we are addressing to any given problem or issue that the group is facing. So what I would like to share to you about the work that we do in Colectivo Tomate is that it comes from three pillars, and these pillars I went through them in the Innsbruck University Peace Program. And the first one is elicitive conflict transformation. And the perspective of elicitive conflict transformation is proposed by Jean-Paul Lederach. And through elicitive, what we mean is that how to catalyze, how to bring forward, how to show the knowledge and the experiences of a group or the people in a group. So as a facilitator, it's not about a vision or a perspective of you being an expert on something, but it is more you facilitating and catalyzing the knowledge that already exists in a group. So when Zaina was speaking about the willing of us as individuals, our willingness within a group as a facilitator would be how do you create the space for others to express themselves? It's not about me as a person, but it's me as how can I serve the group for a bigger purpose, that it's not me and it's not about me, but it's about the group. The second pillar that we base our work on is transrational understandings of many pieces. And I would highlight two words, transrational, and the word understandings. Because when we speak about peace, there are different ways to understand peace, or different peace families where to understand peace. So according to Wolfgang Dietrich from the University of Innsbruck, we can have a moral understanding of peace. We can have an energetic understanding of peace. We can have a modern understanding of peace. We can have a postmodern understanding of peace. And we can have a transrational understanding of peace. And what this means is to involve within our rational understanding also other forms of understanding, such as energetic understanding. So when I'm speaking about connecting among us, I am not speaking about, well, it's not like really, we can't really understand it in a rational, but more in an energetic way. So when we speak about understandings, it's the many possibilities of how we can address peace. And the word many pieces, what it refers to is that there's not only one expression of peace or one concept of peace. Given that there are many understandings of how to understand peace, there are also many other expressions on how peace looks like or what peace is. So when Zaina was saying this question, what is peace for me? I think that's a key question, because it's not only within a rational understanding that I can express peace, but it gives me much more action to how can I relate to peace. And as we were speaking about, before we began this conversation, we were speaking about the effects of COVID and how it's been quite chaotic conversations going around. And as well, within all these chaotic conversations, there's also this other springs of possibilities that are opening, such as today, us being here and speaking to each other. So, well, that transrational understandings to peace gives an opening to other ways of understandings and other ways of expressing peace. And the third pillar of our work is based on nonviolent communication. And nonviolent communication is a practice that was proposed by Marshall Rosenberg. And the nonviolent communication, what it implies is for us to take responsibility of what we think, what we feel, and what we do. And within this nonviolent communication, we're looking to connect with people. So this is what I was saying about speaking from the heart and hearing from the heart. But when we get into nonviolent communication and the powerful effect of nonviolent communication, it would lead us to a transrational understanding, because it's not only through reason. So I want to share with this picture that I'm showing is a group of youth in Mexico, of artists and people who work with Colectivo Tomate. And within our work, we make different ways to address conflict, and we use peace circles as well as other elicitive methods. So as we were saying, the elicitive perspective brings forth the group knowledge. So we use different practices and I would say practices and tools on how to hear the perspectives and the knowledge of the group. So one of these practices are the peace circles, and the peace circles is ancestral knowledge on community based on how to take decisions on the group. And also it is a very horizontal way of hearing and listening to everyone who is inside the group. So it is conducted through, it could be like through a peace word, a word of, pieza de la palabra, a piece for the word, or it could be also conducted or facilitated. Another elicitive method that we use are different kinds of participatory theater, such as theater of the oppressed, or spontaneous theater. And what we do with these practices is that people can not only express it through their words, but express it through their body and through the theater language, which is all the intention and the body language. And also we use participatory dialogues, and within participatory dialogues, which is a more reasonable, rational practice, we address a specific issue, and through maybe World Cafe or maybe open space, we work on how to get the group's input to this issue that we are speaking about. And another aspect that we work through these elicitive methods is on conflict management skills. And this is working with communities on how to improve communication skills and other ways to address conflict within a community. So what we do with our work, and I want to also recall Wakani Hoffman past wisdom conversations that she was speaking about the stories. And what we do in the way we work is that we go to different communities. We, the Colectivo Tomate, go to different communities and invite the communities through nonviolent communication to a project. And this project is going to be about their stories, what it's important for them. So there's another author called Francisco Muñoz, who speaks about expressing peace and the importance of peace expressions around us. So what we do is we make the interviews with the people who who have chosen to participate in the project. And we are looking for their stories. So what I mean with their stories is what's important for them, what has happened in their life that they would like to share with other people, or what has happened here locally, where we're living, what has happened that I would like to share to other people. So this could be experiences that were passed from other generations to this generation, or could be experiences that would like to be passed through other generations. So for example, in this mural, it's done in Zacatecas, and it's about a teacher, a retired teacher, and she's mentioned that like one of the moments that she enjoyed most of her life was when she was younger, and that she was teaching children, and the path that took her from her house to the school, and when she got to the school, how different children accompanied her through this walk. And it's just one moment that we are, the artist, who is Tomás Major, wanted to portray here. So what we're looking for in these murals or these images is different ways to express peace, and also to have an impact in the space where people live. And there's also another aspect to what are the messages that are put in the murals. So when we are looking for the stories that contain their experience, we are also looking for stories that build in the community, that build positively into the community. And it's not positive messages, but it is building positively with the stories that are already there in this community. Okay, so this is another mural that was done last year, and this mural is about a web of trust between women in Zacatecas as well. So we were looking for protecting factors and risk factors in this community, and one of the protecting factors that was very strong in this community was the web of women, a web of women at different ages that worked together and gathered and had workshops together. So as well as John Paul Lederach mentions, there's also another issue about the aesthetics of creating collective aesthetics, and creating collective aesthetics is also a process that involves the community. Okay, so as I was saying, it is about the stories, it is about the traditions, and it's about expressing peace. So I would like to share with you a video of a work that we did. So I invite you to see this, the picture that you have. There is it's a bird, and it's a bird painted in a hill. So you can see the eye of the bird, the beak of the bird, the chest of the bird, and how it has its wings spread. So we did this project in Monterrey, in el Cerro de la Campana, the Campana Hill, and it was a 6 months project where we asked the questions: who we were, who we are, and where are we heading? And we made a process that involved around 50 workshops and sessions between the people of the community, and we gathered the people who were in the bottom of the hill and in top of the hill, who had different years of conflict between them. And it was a project on how we could involve all the people to participate. So you can see that some houses are not painted, and these are the houses of the people who chose not to participate, and the houses of which are painted are the people who chose to participate. So as I began speaking today, we also work with these invitations with the people, so people can choose. And this is the most important things of the work that we do, is for people to choose whether they want to participate, they don't want to participate, or they want to propose something different. Okay, so this is the video.
Espero que todos piensen como nosotros, que fue una obra chingona. Y para beneficio de nosotros, no de nadie más, de nosotros mismos de la colonia.
Yo explicaría que la vida en el cerro está llena de música y color.
Tengo viviendo aquí en la colonia 58 años, orgullosamente. Cuando yo llegué aquí a la colonia había muy poquita gente.
Viviendo en este cerro tengo 41. Casado. Más 5 que anduve echando novia. 46. Sí, no están malas cuentas.
Pues me resulta bastante interesante poder estar experimentando este acontecimiento. Estamos todos aprendiendo juntos, entonces es una buena enseñanza, tanto de trabajar en equipo como personal. Ese es un gran reto, ¿no? Prácticamente tienen que ser una cabeza todos, ¿no?
Cuando llegas y las personas te comparten sus historias, te invitan a pasar a su casa, aunque no te conozcan, es como una cosa súper bonita, o sea, saber, sentir esa confianza, yo creo que para mí es como lo que más resuena en mí, la confianza.
La gente a través de este trabajo se dio cuenta de que nuestra intención era auténtica y que lo que buscábamos era conocernos.
Porque así como se está transformando el cerro con colores, también dentro de nosotros se están transformando. Ya no queremos estar aislados, sino queremos ser parte de la misma sociedad, parte de todo y seguir adelante, ¿verdad?
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the presentation, and well, yes. So this is our what the work that we do, and the role that we play as facilitators in different neighborhoods and in different spaces in Mexico. It is about what is our purpose, or how can we serve this group and the purpose of this group so they can get to what they want. And it is not about us, it is about how we can create for others and not do for others. Create for others so they can bring forward their own knowledge, their own experiences, and create a space where these experiences are being shared, such as South-South Woman, in this perspective of South-South Woman facilitator. So, okay, so thank you very much. And
Muchísimas gracias. If everyone again can unmute and acknowledge Tomás. If you want to speak to him in Spanish, say muchas gracias.
Mucho gracias.
Gracias.
Tomás, that was fabulous, and there was just so much power in that presentation, from having us connect to each other at the very beginning by actually paying attention through a screen to who we might be looking at, you know, who is present here with us today, and to having me wonder actually if you're able to show us some dance moves to the music that was playing in the video.
Dance moves.
we caught a little bit of what looked like salsa. So, but I could see everybody's faces feeling quite you know, uplifted and jovial at the sound of hearing music. And you asked a series of really important questions. So, how do I take responsibility for the space that I am in? What does peace mean to me? And how do I become responsible for how I am transmitting peace? And that added on top of absolutely, you know, all the breakdown of the various facets of peace that you presented, and your work with Colectivo Tomate is truly fabulous, and the Colossal project is so inspirational that Niclette, who had to leave the meeting, and I did want her to share in person, said that she is leaving so inspired by both you and Azadeh. So thank you, and thank you both very, very much. And I'm going to turn it now to a few people who have made comments. Beatriz, if you would like to, because you shared muy inspirador, Tomás, me encantó, very inspiring, Tomás, I loved it. Would you like to share, unmute yourself and share a little bit about what you took away from the presentations? And I do also want to acknowledge, as Beatriz is doing that, Marika Beckman. I believe I may have pronounced your name wrong as I was acknowledging your presence in the last round. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So I'm not sure if Beatrice is able to unmute. And I will add to that the question that Azadeh had also posed to us at the end of her presentation. And she asked, how can you make your coalitions and collectives work better together? And we're really curious to know how each of you responds to that question, and who you have, perhaps even in the Caribbean, how you feel that is, as you were mentioning earlier, Danique, that there are you know, moments of tension currently, and so how would we be able to use what's come out of this as a gateway into creating conditions for peace?
I think Melita was the one that mentioned that before I entered.
Melita. Okay, sorry. Is Melita?
That's okay. But nonetheless, I have to say that I was very inspired by the approach. I was inspired by, I think one of the things that might be missing is listening from the heart and speaking from the heart. That how can we bridge and find each other? And also I like that everyone comes to the table, everyone that's involved, that you know, that the tension that you have opposing parts, but that you can bring everyone together. But I like the part of talking from, speaking from the heart and listening from the heart. And my mind has been racing about, okay, how can I apply that on the island? With art, with conversations, with, so yes, my brain is working on that right now.
Wow, yeah. Fabulous! That's amazing feedback, and what a powerful point in the presentation. So thank you so much for sharing. Melita, I don't know if you would like to add to that.
Well, yes, what I'm taking with me is that question: what do I need to put in space to start listening from the heart in every conversation that I'll be having, and so that to inspire others, to invite others to start listening from the heart and give up being right in this, because right now everyone is being right and everybody's opinions are valid. And how do you get from that point and to be in conversation with each other where we look at each other and listening from the heart? So that's what I'm taking with me. I'm entertaining that question, and who I am, what's my responsibility, and who can I be in that conversation? So in not having an answer, but what is it? I'm entertaining the question, and I'm sure And I'm entertaining this question. I'll be entertaining this question in every conversation that I'll be having. What do I need to put right in that moment to be listening from the heart and to validate however everybody is coming to the conversation. And so to inspire to have a larger conversation with each other where we really can see and listen to each other. Like I said before, what is missing is manifesting in an economic situation, but it's not the economic, it's something different. And so that's what I'm taking with me from this presentation today. Thank you so much to Azadeh and CS. So that's what it is.
Thank you so much. And I'm actually going to turn it to Tomás and Azadeh in case either of you have anything to say in response to that powerful feedback and transformational mindset that we're hearing from both Melissa and Danik.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. I really like what the reflection that you're posing. And what I would invite you to look into is the practice of nonviolent communication, because there is like different components of this practice of nonviolent communication, and the first of the components is to separate my judgment, my evaluation from what actually is happening. So it's not like my perspective is the world, but I can separate my perspective to what's happening. And this will allow me not to react immediately or not to be right. And this is what you mentioned about being right. I love it because one of the things that I work with my team is, okay, just drop it. Drop being right. It's not about being right, because when we speak about being right, it's not a rational conversation. It's a conversation about power. So if you want to impose power, then you're not facilitating. This is not what you're doing. It's another conversation. Don't pretend there's the last part. It does have an impact in economics, and through these projects that we are creating. So the purpose of the projects that we are creating is not art. So you can see art happens, but it's not art. Art is a vehicle, a tool. But what we're looking for is people to connect and people to trust. So when people connect and trust, there's more projects that are possible, such as economic projects. So if we lay in a structure where people trust between them, because this is a big problem here that I'm facing in Mexico. It's a big problem in the world. We don't trust. So if we can create a structure of trust, then there's more projects that can be possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Azadeh?
Yeah, sure, Melissa. Groetjes uit Brussel.
Ik wist het.
I love Curacao. You know, there, just maybe on a side note, just last week, there was a big ceremony in the Netherlands for the first time in commemoration of the years of slavery and the damage of slavery that it has done to the former colonies, including Suriname, Curaçao, Bonaire, Aruba, all the Dutch Antilles in particular. And I'm following the news quite closely because there's so much synergy also, of course, with what's going on in the US. And I think you're alluding and you are raising probably the most defining question of our generation, is how to deal with years of exclusion, years of being left out in disenfranchisement. I'll share with you perhaps some of my own experience working with disenfranchised and excluded communities. And I think there is a philosophical question that you raise, which is how to, right? How do we, how can I, how might we? And I don't have an immediate answer to it, but from the experience that I have gone through, there are different levels of listening, and there are different levels of organizing also. we have a tendency, and you beautifully said it, is like, how can I convene others to be in this space? We have been so linearly trained to say it's always about me and I have to organize my own constituency, that we forget that we have to zoom out first and disconnect from everything that we're doing and see who else is in these spaces that we can invite and that we can bring in. I've seen this happen in some of the most isolated, heavily economically impacted and impoverished regions of Southeast Alaska, as well as in Afghanistan, as well as in Iran, and also in Suriname and in Brazil, and name it. And what I've seen, which was extremely powerful, is that when organizations, the anchors, such as yourself, were able to say, you know, we're going to create a holding space and just hear and listen to everything that is being said and invite everyone to speak out, have the voice and have their voice heard. And that was the philosophical conversation around it. And then to the point that Tomás was making, there is so many ideas that come out just by doing different levels of listening and organizing that comes after that. You can, and there's tons and tons of solutions around that, economically, socially, culturally, ecologically. So if at any point you'd like to discuss some of those solutions that are out there, incubation programs, pre-incubation programs, to help entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, civic entrepreneurs, I'll gladly hold hands with you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I will take that offer. Thank you.
So we will make sure to connect Melitza and Azadeh. And thank you so much for your considerate and compassionate responses, Tomás and Azadeh. And I wanted to, Helen had made a comment, and I wonder, Helen, if you would like to voice that, and then perhaps we can hear from one more person, Rosario from Argentina, before we close.
Yeah, thank you, Azadeh and Tomás. I can't, like I said, peace is what we need in the world. When there is peace, you have this calmness. Spiritually, it is very good. And I think we should propagate that word peace. We need to speak more of peace. Anywhere you go, speak peace. You find that when you come with peace, when you come with that calmness into any community, into an environment, there's that same word, peace, amongst the people. I think we should really go out and spread that word, peace. Thank you again, Tomás and Azadeh. Thank you. I must comment on what Tomás did by saying everybody should put on their video so that we could have that contact, that eye contact. I really like that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen, for sharing your voice with us today. Rosario, are you there? Okay, she may have stepped out. All right, I'll open this to anybody else who would. Are you there? Great.
Hello, hello.
We can now, kind of.
Hello.
Okay, yes, we can. Rosario? Okay. Perhaps perhaps connection issues, and I'm sure she'll reconnect as soon as she can. Is there anybody else who would like to? Oh, Rosario, we can see you, but I don't know why we weren't able to hear you. Do you want to try once more? Okay. Okay, she's frozen. All right. So is there anybody else who would like to share something before we close? Fernando left. He had to go to another meeting, and I do acknowledge that we've gone over time, and thank everybody for staying on the extra time to really absorb the depth and the wisdom of this conversation. And if there's
May I
anybody
suggest something?
Please, yes.
Yes. Can I just suggest that we put the country, I don't have it after my name, so it makes it more interesting for us, the ones who are listening or new like I am, just to be aware the enormous fan of countries that this particular group is covering. It would be very interesting.
Absolutely. So you're suggesting that we put it as part of our names?
Yes, Marika Beckman, like I would have Kenya here.
Perfect. And Marika, while we have you, please do introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, it is a bit late. I'm a good friend, and I've known Kelly Aburi for many years. I used to be in the healthcare. I'm a retired person from the healthcare industry here, private healthcare industry in East Africa. Also, I'm a Kenyan, but my family is originally from Poland, where we also set up with my husband. I'm a widow, by the way. Many years ago, a healthcare company called Medicover, and of course, being a woman, like most of you are, not everybody, thank goodness, that we're interested on peace as part of our femininity. That's what interests us as we bring up our children now. In my case, my grandchildren, and I'm just very interested in well, the two sessions now I have taken part in last week and this week, and I hope to be able, perhaps eventually, even to participate in a bigger manner. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing yourself, for sharing your voice with us, and for your brilliant suggestion, because one of the things that we do monitor is the diversity of participation across the Global South. So from now on, we will be requesting that all participants place their country as part of their name on the Zoom screen. And thank you for honoring Kelly's invitation. So to bring today to a close, I will hand back to Ibiene to give her last parting words of wisdom and a thank you on behalf of South Women for your time and your generosity, for the wisdom you come with, and for the energy that you exude to make this kind of conversation possible for people to come together from no matter where we are in the world for a future of acceptance, of inclusion, and of integration. Thank you, and Ibiene.
Thank you, Zaina. I actually just wanted to say a word, but I will say my word and then I would close. Tomás, thank you so much for your last sentence, where you prompt us to create, to note that we are creating and we are not doing. Oftentimes, we have this propulsion to think, to believe that we can just change stuff, as against creating the environment that would propel people to trust us enough to want to listen, to want to open their hearts, and to want to take action. Thank you for that call of action, notes to self, more or less. So it is ingrained in me. I wrote it down. My colleagues here would note that I'm a draconian. Paper and pen are always with me. Kelly's trying to make me digital, but I prefer my paper and my pen. Thank you. Kelly, see, I'm not Zaina, see, I'm not the only one. Now, as a closing statement, like Kelly, Zaina said, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. We're all different time zones. I know what it takes to, you know, carve out time and put us in your schedule. Not only do you come to listen, you are present. You share without shame, without fear. You enable us to create this safe space for us to actually come and, as Tomás said, come and listen from our hearts. And we hope that with that call to action, we would, you know, propagate more listening from the heart and speaking from the heart and shedding light from the heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Sorry for the overrun. We love you and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
That would be Monday next week, Rethinking Enterprise, the Profit of Service, with Kelly Aburi and Claudia Lozano. See you next week. You'll be hearing from us by email. In the meanwhile, follow us on social media or share with us your social media handles so that we can tag you in our posts and in our thank yous. We acknowledge and honor every single one of you and look forward to growing together.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
How do you say bye in Spanish?
Adiós,
Gracias.
hasta luego.
Adiós. Okay.
Chao.
Hasta luego. Adiós.
Chao, hasta luego.
Bye.